This is a poem called Save the Planet, Save Yourself. If anyone was as mean to you as you are to yourself, you would not be their friend. Yet I am constantly beating myself up. I am my own 1950s sitcom husband, open palm slapping my sense of self-worth. And when I masturbate, I say that I'm fucking my secretary, because I do all my own admin. Except I never masturbate anymore, and can only really feel when lip-syncing to Mojo Pin by Jeff Buckley. I just can't get it up. It's been 22 years and I've lost the spark. I'm growing apart. The longest relationship you will ever have is with yourself. And I can barely commit to a bag for life. I mean, I do my bit. I have sacrificed straws to the gods. I sort offerings into separate recycling bins. I have my rituals for saving the world. Sometimes I will take myself out for a meal or a solitary romantic walk. But my own pathetic attempts to woo myself are as dim as an energy-saving light bulb in light of what they're doing to the oceans with all that oil. It's about self-care. Don't spend too long in the shower, cut down on takeout, get off of YouTube, go outside and cycle or some shit. Don't binge your depressive episodes. Remember that this will pass and that the planet is dying. Light a candle, run a bath, think of the orangutans. Take 10 minutes out of your day to dance in the fucking bathroom. Why not walk to work or make a compost heap? Why not write a list of everything that you are thankful for? Breathable air, the coral reef, meditate. Wiggle your toes, it releases serotonin, and turn the tap off when you're brushing your teeth. Doctor, I struggle with feelings of impending doom and hopelessness. Are these symptoms or perfectly reasonable reactions? 70% of the world's pollution is created by just 100 companies and Earth is on a death spiral. Have you tried mindfulness? I'm Iona Lee. I'm a poet and an artist. I live in Glasgow, though I'm from East Lothian.
True.
Yeah. In some ways they do. I think my poetry is very image-based. So when I'm writing, I can see what it looks like and I need to describe it. And then when I'm drawing, I can describe it and I need to visualize it quite often. So in that way, they do. They sometimes clash though. I've been doing spoken word and poetry for about 5 years now, maybe almost 6. And I've been at school for some of that time. And art school is one of those places where they kind of want you to sell your soul a wee bit. They want you to, I eat and breathe and sleep Glasgow School of Art. And that's kind of, the poetry's got in the way of that at times. So it's been a sort of source of contention between me and my tutors at points, my poetry career. So in that respect, it's been a bit of a clash. And it's been hard trying to find the balance. They kind of always were together. When I was a kid, I would write short stories and I would draw pictures for them. I wrote a series of novels when I was 7.
When you were 7?
Yeah, I mean, a novel was a page long. But it was a 10-book series about a knight called Sir Clankety. And I would draw illustrations for them. So I've always drawn and I've always written. And I think my brain is probably wordier. I sometimes get confused by my tutors, the way that they talk about images. I sometimes just don't really get it. So I think I am more wordy as a person. But I've been writing and drawing since I can remember. I love musician poets, people who combine music and performance and poetry. So obviously Tom Waits, Patti Smith, those are two of the main ones.
Bit of Lenny.
Yeah, a bit of Lenny. King Missile as well. They're less known, but they're fucking brilliant. You should look them up. So music is a big one. Lyrics. With poetry, I like old dead men poetry a lot. I mean, I love Jared Manley Hopkins. I love T.S. Eliot. I love Dylan Thomas. In my day-to-day life, my influences are just like thoughts and ideas. We were talking about how we both like sort of the big questions. I literally used to watch the big questions every week, the debate program. I've just always been interested in like big subjects. Like my pamphlet sort of accidentally became, like, a lot of people were telling me it was like very spiritual, and I don't consider myself to be spiritual at all. It's just that I like discussing the ideas of theology and God and reality and all that kind of thing. So yeah, just like big questions. I don't know. It's interesting, man. This poem is called The Journey, and it's about when I was a kid, we would drive to Bristol a lot as a family, because that's where my extended family live, or some of them. And I would get car sick a lot. Sick and vanilla, the well-intentioned fir tree athurable, bless the way to Bristol. Cassette tapes and CDs, I am the star of a music video in the back seat. Nondescript motorway is torn beneath the car as we race through the nowhere that is the space between home and are we nearly there yet? That is to say that 8 hours was a tiny eternity. That is to say that I had lived a year for every hour in that car. Much later, there was love and there were lessons, a certain kind of empty, a shedding. I rarely listen to a whole album now, not so good at ceremony, the ritual of sitting, letting it be. I learn ancient things with each new age, how to appreciate the journey. Cassette tapes and CDs. I am a star of a music video in the back seat. So I woke up the morning that I was going to do my gig at Glastonbury, and Brexit had just happened that day. So I woke up to sort of this like desolate campsite of sad middle class people. And I was angry and didn't really know what to do and had to go and do a gig immediately. And the space that you perform in, if you're doing poetry at Glastonbury, is like this big open stage. So you kind of feel quite naked up there. And it's got a roof, so people will come in because it's raining, not necessarily because they really want to hear poetry. And there's a lot of sound bleed from the nearest tent. So that was the space I was in. Brexit just happened. Everyone like looked kind of dazed. And I had 20 minutes to fill, and I was in a weird mood. And I just kind of went off on this weird tangent, and I think I lost some people. And also, me and my friend Michelle Madsen, another poet, we were doing a gig together there, a very demeaning one where we had to pretend to be aerobics instructors and host a slam and, you know. Yeah. But we were talking about how we'd kind of gone on in a kind of like, what the fuck this attitude. And the audience weren't as receptive to that as we kind of thought. I think there's a lot of the festivals I've been to, like Glastonbury, sort of down there, have a bit of a champagne socialism feel. So like I did one that was overtly like a political festival, and it was stuff about like welfare and free speech and all this kind of thing. And they were like offering jelly shots that were passion fruit and Prosecco jelly shots for like £3 a shot or something. And I was just so like yeah, just kind of like, you know, they had a food stall that was like artisanal bread, stuff like that, you know. Yeah, I don't think you'd get away with that at a Scottish festival. I read a meme online that really inspired me, okay? And I've kind of held it with me ever since, because there's something about it that is just nice. Because you get to this age, 22, and older, and younger, I'm sure. And you just, you know, you start to mature, and you I don't know, we're all so neurotic and anxious, and I especially am very scared about how I come across, you know, to other people, and I care about that kind of thing.
Oh, you're not alone there.
No, for sure. Yeah, exactly. I'm very aware of myself, and I'm always nervous about how I come across. So the meme I read was, your 12-year-old self would think that you were really cool. And I was like, oh, yeah, she would. That's cool. That's nice. It's just like a nice wee pat on the back. Like, yeah, when I was 12 years old, I would think that what I do now is really cool. And that's nice. So I'd just say that. I'd just say you're cool in the future. So don't worry about it.
I like that.
Reading poetry is definitely the biggest piece of advice I would give to anyone who wants to write poetry. Read poetry. So that's one. So I read quite a lot of poetry. Though I have a really bad habit of starting to read a poem and then like flinging the book and grabbing a notepad in a kind of rage of like, I need to write, and then I can't write and I have to go like, oh, okay, well, I'll go back to reading. So yeah, there's that. But articles, I just sort of generally keep up to date in affairs. I read newspapers and I listen to a lot of podcasts. Conversations, being observant, I think that's key with writing poetry, is just listening and like being observant and noticing patterns in things and taking in the stuff around you, really. I think that's what it is. It's like condensing a feeling to its essence. So in order to be able to do that, you have to like listen and take things in. So yeah, I don't know what it is exactly that makes me go like, I shall write a poem. It tends to be quite a kind of gradual, process. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, this is a performy one. Please excuse me, for I am not myself, you see. You should see the real me. She is cool-legged and cruel and drinks too much coffee. Outside bars in market squares where sunshine rests in empty mugs and music plays. Oh, you should see the real me. See her when she's sitting there. She does not curl fern fingers around elbows or wrap up in herself. Rather, she unfolds as Ivy does. Fingertips tapping the table, searching for cigarettes, she lets careless words trip down her tongue, to be caught and, like butterflies, pinned to paper. The real me is a muse, a moon, both painter and painted. Wild-haired, wide-eyed and tainted, she smiles and smokes and sings celestially. She leaves an impression, a bruise like ink, like footsteps in the snow, I think, both cold and delicate, yet not melting, more moving on. So no, not white as snow, not innocent, more blood-red lips and opal eyes, more precious and more endless. The better me is thinner and will grab your waist and whisper, and then suddenly a stranger, moved on by that fishhook moon that guides her tide. I, magpie, I'm a stealer of shine, but she's not one for sorrow, just a borrower of light, so please excuse me, for I am not myself, you see. You should see the real me. She is lighter and more rhythmic, but I am pinned in place by meat and pain and good intentions. There are lies laced into the lines around my eyes, and they are less like kaleidoscopes, so she is the better me. Not so much human-shaped, more siren. Not so much flesh, more air. Not so much care, more moving on through memory as a wicked woman with brilliant mind and filthy mouth that you think of fondly from time to time. So, please excuse me, for I am not myself, you see. Not quite the self I'd like to be.